Good evening and welcome to Monday night's Fools Rush In. And I'd like to start by addressing a complaint we've received in our FRI mailbag. I will read it here. It says, good evening, sirs of FRI. I would like to find out how I can make an official complaint regarding your podcast. Here goes. I moved to the Swindon area as a kid in the late 70s. I was a Liverpool fan then and also had a soft spot for West Ham. But one trip to the county ground with my dad was enough, a town fan ever since. But here's the complaint. Recently, I started to realise I was enjoying the episodes of FRI more than the actual games of late. Crazy, eh? But the show is great. Better teamwork than our first 11, half the team, it seems. Open, honest, funny, informed, passionate about STWFC, inclusive. Love it. Thanks to all. And that came from Jez, who went on to say, one of the most inspirational parts is that you don't normally get the chance to see a group of blokes talking and listening to each other. Jez, when I first got the message and I read the first couple of lines, I was really worried about what was to follow. But as I got to the end of it, I cannot thank you enough for such kind comments. And to everyone who sends those sorts of comments to us and constructive criticisms as well. We're good at accepting those. But thank you for anyone and everyone who takes the time to send us that kind of feedback. It really does mean everything. We have a great panel. We have some very special guests. And before we do all that, let's roll the titles.
Take my hand, take my whole life too, but I can't help falling in love with you.
And I'd like to start the hello and good evenings tonight with a man who really, really enjoyed Saturday, not so much Sunday. Good evening, Woody.
Good evening. I knew that was coming to me. I was like, really enjoyed Saturday. So what's going to follow that is probably going to be, yeah, he had a shit Sunday. No, yeah, I was absolutely buzzing on Saturday, as you guys know. Very good day for football. But yeah, oh well, it happens, doesn't it? You can't have the highs without having the lows. So yeah, but looking forward to tonight. 2 great guests on as well. So really looking forward to it tonight.
Very much so, very much so. Next, let's say hello to the man who was tasked with providing matchday content and did just that, but forgot to actually give it to the people controlling the social media accounts. Good evening, Nick.
Well, Fyfie, mate, you have to be more specific, you know. we can only do so much. And I'm worried about tonight. The message you've read out saying how entertaining we are. And also, one of our lovely guests has said she wants to be entertained. So talk about pressure on. So
I know.
Hopefully it's going to be a cracking show tonight. We'll try our best. We can only do our best.
Put it this way, if it's entertaining the people want, another 3.5-hour bitch-a-thon is what they're going to get. Just like Friday.
I can't do another 3.5. No, that is
no, I don't think any of us could do another 3.5 like that. That's for sure.
I blame Woody.
yeah. It was.
I blame you lot. You lot wanted Beth to come on and gloat about blinking victory on last Sunday. I blame you lot.
It was worth every second. That's for sure. It was. One man who didn't quite have the stamina to last the 3.5 hours, but he's back to try again tonight. Good evening, Ben.
Good evening, boys. Good evening, Fyfie. 3.25 hours was good enough. It was 12:15 when I pulled the plug because I had to be up and take Freddie swimming at 7 o'clock in the morning. And that was it was bedtime.
It certainly was. Gents, I'm looking forward to talking to you all about the game on Saturday. But before that, we have not one but two guests waiting to join us, not for the first time. So let's start by saying hello and good evening to Alice Bowden. Welcome back to Fools.
Hello, thanks for having me back. I love being on.
No, honestly, it's 100% our pleasure. And we can't thank you enough for taking time out of your very busy schedule to talk to us, especially when I give you next to no notice and a very gibberish message that wasn't legible the first time round.
I think it was just me. I've had one of them days. My boiler's broke, so you can all feel sorry for me. So I'm sat here in the cold, so I just need to be cheered up.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
We've all
been
there. Tell her to go off now. Tell her to go off now.
That's not the sort of level of entertainment.
Just about to talk about the weekend as well. Like, just kick Bowds while she's down.
Well, someone who, even if they did have a bad weekend and may not be feeling 100% themselves, but never seems to stop smiling, we welcome back to Fools again, Grace. Good evening.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having me.
How are
I loved
you?
it last time, so I'm going to love it again.
Well, we'll try our best to ask you lots of questions so you can talk about yourself again.
She's frozen on that.
Yeah, she freezes at that point. Makes it look real awkward, that, doesn't it?
Look at the dog.
I know, it's superb. So, Alice, I'll start with you while we sort Grace's connection out. We were talking on our show on Friday about how the women's team had the 3 games in a week, essentially, last week. So if we could go back to a week on Sunday, and that run started with a 3-1 win away at Portishead. Not a bad way to kick off a busy week.
No, not a bad way. We sort of needed something to push us on. We've had like a string of games where we played well, but just nothing was sort of going right. So to play Portishead and get a little bit of confidence, get a few goal lead was really good for the girls and good for morale. So that was a really positive start to the week.
And then following that up with a 0-0 draw away midweek at Maidenhead as well, you must have thought you possibly would have thought you could have got the win out of there, but 4 points from 2 games, not a bad turnaround in itself either.
Not very bad. And obviously it was in Maidenhead, so not many people were able to go, but me, James and KP, we all agreed that was probably one of the best games that collectively we played this season or in a long time. The football was there. Everything was there. We just couldn't score a goal. But collectively, I couldn't have been prouder of every single person on and off that pitch because it was amazing.
No, 100%. And when you see the feedback online from the few people who, like I say, were able to go, or the tweets out from Swindon Town Women's account as well, you do get a sense for how the game's sort of gone. And then we came to this weekend, which unfortunately didn't quite go to plan. The only defeat of the 3. It was level at half time, but then lost it 2-1 in the second half away at Larkhall.
It was just one of those games, you know. We had a few shots. I even hit the crossbar. Just wasn't going our way.
Woody's face to that.
I know. Phenomenal. But it just wasn't going our way, and then like 20 minutes to go, I made an error, and unfortunately it's on my shoulders that, you know, we lost the game, and still trying to get over it now, but it's a hard
me asking
defeat
you to come and
take.
talk about it is really helpful.
It is, but as a captain and as a player, I need to show that, you know, everyone makes mistakes and it's how you respond to that. So obviously today's a new day, tomorrow's the start of training, and it's just kicking on from that again. When you're a centre back, it's one of your decisions do make or break the game sometimes, and unfortunately one of my decisions wasn't the best decision I could have made, so I'll take that. Yeah, we could have scored some more goals, maybe we could have done something different, but as the captain, leader on the pitch, I'll take that one for the team.
No, and I think there's a lot to say, you know, when, you know, how honest you've been about that. You just, you know, yeah, fair enough, that was my mistake, hands up. You know, I can't do anything about it now.
I know, I came home and I went on a walk, listened to Adele.
Oh no, oh no.
Oh dear.
Was it you the police were attending to that night?
I didn't really check my phone for the whole day, and I'm in a better headspace now.
Mike's saying you hit the crossbar, Alice. You sure you weren't shooting the right way?
I'm a threat from corners. I tell you what, threat from corners, and it was bloody good. I was so gutted it didn't go in. See, things like that, little split decisions can change the games. Do you know what I mean? So. Yeah.
I think you're being a bit harsh on yourself, but not everything was abnormal, was there, Alice? I mean, in the 30th minute, something definitely wasn't not normal in your normal game.
What did I do?
Got a yellow card next to your name, is it? On the 30th minute?
I don't know how that happens. Things like that follow
Really?
me. I'm a nice person. I don't know why I keep getting cards. It was just, Larkhall was a game where they've been in our league for a long time. We all sort of know each other, been in and around each other for a lot of years, and it's a scrappy game. Even the girls that I sort of played with previously at Swindon, who now don't play football, even they said to me over the weekend, like, oh, I do love a good Larkhall game because it's always like a scrappy game. Do you know what I mean? And it's just one of those games that just didn't go our way. And obviously we're going to look back at it this week, and hopefully Sunday, away to St Austell, we can put it right and get some more points on the score sheet, because we deserve to be doing well this season. So it's just trying to figure it out for the rest of the season.
You mentioned what's coming up this weekend, and when I was putting a few notes together of things I wanted to ask you, I did pick out that you're currently on a run. You've just completed your 6th away game in a row, and then you've got another one at the weekend.
Another one.
Putting in some miles in 2023.
I know, but when you get them every week, like we all just want to be back at home playing at like Foundation Park or Fairford, with everyone watching us. So another away game, but we've got a positive one this week. We've got a hotel this weekend, so a little bit of team bonding, going down on the Saturday night. I think that's what we need from Sunday. All just get together and have a good time, ready for a good win on Sunday, and no drinks.
Alice, I was going to ask, now you're under the umbrella of Swindon Town, the club, how much of a difference has that made to the women's team?
Just the support that we're getting and the interest, people wanting to be involved in the club is tenfold better. Like, I've nearly been here 9-10 seasons, and this year is the year where people have really wanted to engage with us. So it's not even just Robin Clem and that side of the club. It's people like you guys that actually want to take an interest and know us, not just look at the scores, but you want to know us as people, just like you do the men's players. And for me, that's the biggest thing that I've taken away from this season, and I'd say has been such a success, is just getting us out there, not just as a club, but as individual players as well.
I'll ask you one more question, which isn't totally around the football, and it's what you said about people knowing you. You'll have to excuse what I'm going to say now. I've got a daughter called Alice.
No,
it's okay. It's okay.
Oh no,
right.
Nick.
Listen, look at Fyfie.
Again.
I've got a daughter called Alice, and quite often she had the comment thrown at her saying, "Who the fuck is Alice?" Do you get that?
all the time, all the time. But I bloody love it. If we're on a night out or we've had a few drinks, you just play it and we're all just on the tables dancing.
Excellent.
That's I think that's what you have to be if you're an Alice. You get that thrown around all the time.
Absolutely.
Even my dad sings it to me.
Brilliant.
Thanks for your contribution today, mate.
Yeah. Of all the things
You're the name
that you were
for
going to
it.
ask, Nick, I'm glad that was it, because I was really worried what was coming next.
No, I thought I'd put a smile on your face. So
Yeah,
you
I'm
wanted to
going
be
to
cheered up.
play that song for Grace. She's never heard it. She's too young. She doesn't know what it is.
Oh,
You
great.
say I'm too young.
Look, go on Google, look
And
it
I'm
up.
not ashamed of that.
Oh,
I'm not
it's
lying.
going to descend. It's going to descend
I'm
into
not
chaos.
lying.
This, isn't it? Pop culture references for the different generations of panelists. I actually had prepared up on the subject of games, little graphic here of your remaining fixtures. And again, I just mentioned about all the away games in a row. You do have a nice little run of home games to finish the season.
I haven't done that.
I mean, Woody, if I could ask you first, is this common practice that the fixtures just end up in this completely imbalanced way?
Yeah, and maybe not that imbalanced. But it wouldn't be rare. I mean, we've got the same at Bassett at the moment. You know, we had like 5 games at home on the trot, and now we're just about to go do 4 games away on the trot. I think obviously when you think about the EFL and the professional game, and it's probably inclusive with WSL and WCL, they obviously plan the fixtures quite well in advance, and they've got, they don't necessarily have the postponement problems that I'm going to say like non-professional football, because it's not just women's football that you see this. I mean, the Hellenic League at men's level, they play half the league in half the season, and then they play the other half the league the next season. So you would often find that they have a string of games like that. Grace really is having troubles with her Wi-Fi.
It's worth mentioning that Grace and her family have recently moved house, and they're trying to basically hotspot it to be on tonight.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I mean, I'm looking at those. I keep meaning that.
Do you want me to flash them back up for you, Woody? No,
that's fine. But when I look at those, I'm looking at like when we haven't got a fixture at the moment, because I want to get back out and see the girls play. But it's sometimes quite good as well to have that string of away games just to get them out of the way and done with. And then when you're in your comfort, as we get into that kind of final stretch of the season, like Swindon will be at that point, is Fairford Foundation Park is the home. I think undefeated on Foundation Park for a start. Fairford, we've got pretty good record. I don't think we've lost at Fairford, have we? Bouds? Have you, Bouds, lost at Fairford this season? I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think it was just we had the away bogey that every time we were going away, it just wasn't ending great.
Yeah, exactly. So and naturally, as Bouds literally just said about the game where you didn't have many players for Maidenhead, you don't tend to have that problem at home. So you are a bit more confident that you can have arguably your strongest squad. So yeah, I don't think it's uncommon. But it is just the way the leagues are organised. National League will do 3 months worth of fixtures at a time, rather than doing the whole season in advance. And it's because of the staggerness of things like the FA Cup can throw things out and all of that. So not unusual, but probably a little bit freaky, given that they've had 5 on and now they're just about to have 5 off type thing. So, yeah.
Mike's asked a question. I don't know, Alice or Woody, if either of you are able to clarify this. So when I flashed up the graphic, it was saying...
You're not on your phone at all, are you?
What? What's that?
No, not on your phone at all.
Okay, well, we'll just mute the mic there.
Michelle, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, so when I flashed up the graphic, it mentioned Fairford for the home games. And Mike said here, Sean Hodgett said that the rest of the home games are at Foundation Park, except for Southampton at the County Ground.
We haven't been told anything like that. We sort of take it week by week. So sometimes fixtures get added in, taken away, stuff like that. I know there are a few games at Foundation Park, and they are thinking of having a game at the County Ground. But what game that is at the moment, I'm not sure. The big bosses probably know. I'm still recovering from Sunday, so.
and we will try to aid that recovery as best we can. One more for you then before I give you a little rest and bring Grace in. We spoke when you were last on about the league table and what constituted a successful season, what your aims were for the coming months, and then further on. The updated league table, as I understand it now, on the screen with Swindon in 6th. With that run of home games to finish the season, essentially, do you see a good opportunity there to cement that top half finish and maybe climb a place or two?
100%. At the start of the season, I would have said that I wanted to sort of beat last year's record, which I think we sort of already have done. But 3rd or 4th place, I think, is easy for us to get. We just need to be on it. And I think those run of home games, and hopefully if they are at Foundation Park, obviously I love playing at Fairford, but more people can get to us at Foundation Park, and it's like having the extra player on the pitch, people wanting to come and watch you, cheering you on. And sometimes when you're playing 80, 90 minutes and you are tired, just having more people cheer for you and watch you just sort of spurs you on for the final sort of things. And I think that's sort of sometimes what we need. No,
100%, completely understand that. Take a load off. I'll be back in a few minutes to ask you a couple more questions, Alice. But Grace, welcome back to Fools.
Thank you. I loved it the first time. I'm sure I'm going to love it again. You guys are so funny. It's great app.
Very, very kind of you to say. So there's been so much happen in the last couple of weeks even, never mind since we last spoke to you, that I want to catch up on. And if we can start with this moment here, Swindon Town women under 18s make the semi-final after Grace saves 5th penalty.
Yeah, that was a great game. It was definitely a big battle between us. I think we're both very equal teams, not in the way that we play, but our level of play, especially for under 18s. I think we're both very good teams. I just think we had the edge on the penalties.
And I'm always interested to ask people, not so much about the physical side of the game, but when it comes to penalty shootouts, you always hear about the mental element. How much of that, even it was a cup quarter final, does that still kind of come into it at this stage? Are you already practicing what is otherwise known in football as the shithousery of penalties?
Well, I prefer not to talk, but I do try and get in their head a lot. I will pick.
She does. You did it at that County Cup game. I bloody loved it. I love Grace. I think she's great, and I love her.
I told
you
need to get a mum on as a guest as well.
Oh, we know.
I'm here.
She's here.
Don't you worry.
The dog's also here. He's just mascot for me right now.
So you were saying you don't like to talk, but you do like to get into their head. So what's your sort of chosen method of doing so?
So without getting carded or anything, I will just throw the ball not in their direction. I'll clap in their face, stuff like that. I'll stand on the penalty spot and wait for them to come to me, stare deep into their soul.
I love this so much already.
You know.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
I love that already. That is sensational stuff. That even at your age, you're automatically thinking, right, I'm going to psych you out here. So moving forward, then the semi-final. The semi-final's not been played yet, has it? That's still to come.
Frozen.
Oh, not again. This hotspot just is not working every time either that or Grace just doesn't want to talk to me and only wants to talk to Woody and Alice.
Malik needs to get off the internet.
That's what happened the first time you laugh. I was like, "Are you on your phone?" He was like, I was like, get off!
We know that's what you said,
We
Michelle.
know.
We know that's
We
what
heard
you
you.
said.
Get everyone off the Wi-Fi, get everyone on the 4G.
Sorry, Grace. I was saying, I don't know if you caught it before it froze. The semi-final's not been played yet.
And go, Fyfie.
There's now a delay, which is sensational again. Grace, can you hear us okay?
Yeah, you're good now.
Excellent. Lovely. So the semi-final coming up, that can't be too far away itself?
Sorry.
Don't know.
Yeah,
It's
I think
fine.
it's in a couple of weeks.
Couple of weeks' time.
I don't think I know them playing yet. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I think it's between Headington and some town, I think. But I'm not sure.
Okay. Woody will be frantically Googling this because this is what he does for me whenever I ask a question like this. Can we talk about the weekend as well? Because you actually played twice, didn't you, this weekend? Because should we start with the game on Saturday?
Saturday, for my under 18s, we played against a team lower in the league. It should have been a cakewalk for us, but we actually, I don't think we played our best personally. I know I didn't, but we did still win 8-0, and I think it should have been a lot more. I think they know that, and I think we'll be better next weekend when we play again.
We said this last time you were on, but we get the sense that you do put a lot of pressure on yourself because you just said, they may have been lower in the table. We won 8-0, but I don't feel I or we were at our best. Like, if any other team wins 8-0, everyone's like, yes!
I think it's kind of different. So this is the first for me. I'm one of the older ones on the team. Everyone else is 15, younger 16. So I think they're all like, yeah, woo, we've won. And
Again.
I think they know they didn't play that. There's a bit of a delay. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, no, there it is. It caught up again. We're kind of getting the gist of what you're saying, but every time you go and make the crucial point in the sentence, it just freezes.
Brilliant. Just not making my point at all.
And then you also played yesterday. It didn't quite go to plan in the same way. It certainly wasn't an 8-0 win. But you did, which you didn't seem to know until we mentioned it off camera. You did get voted player of the match despite the defeat.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I'm never in the know. I just kind of turn up on the day usually and just play, and then that's it. And then I'm like, I review the game after, like in my head. I'm like, this is what I should have done, but then it's gone. Then it's gone. Next game. But we lost 3-1. I think that we can play better. Devs are a great team. But however, Bournemouth are top of the table, so they were kind of expected to win. But I think we did well keeping it to 3-1 and not letting them get a clean sheet. So
no, credit where it's due, and as you're saying there, take the positives where they are and build on them. Learn from anything that you perceive as being wrong or not quite right, but take the positives and build on them. That's for sure. We then got the tweet came through, which for people like myself who are still kind of learning all the different setups and kind of how everything works. Then read up. Other than your cup semi-final, there's now a league split, and with Town's under 18s in the top half, you'll be competing for the title after the split.
I personally, there's two other teams that I'm more worried about in this league, but I think that with enough hard work, us 18s will smash it out of the park. I think that Cumnor are definitely a beatable team. We lost to them last time, but I don't think we're going to let that happen again. And Chesterton I think we know we can beat them easily. So it's just hard work and just a bit of grit.
Ben, let me just ask you quickly. When you listen to Grace, are you not inspired by the sheer level of confidence?
I'm loving it. It's just really good.
I can literally listen to it all night.
Yeah, it's a proper eye opener. I do enjoy listening. It's really informative, and I'm learning lots.
Absolutely.
Grace is the only person I know that's as confident as Ben.
Do you know what? It's fine. There's nothing wrong with confidence. There's nothing wrong with confidence. If it's it just it puts you in the right frame of mind. It really does.
It's better to be confident than shy.
Exactly. Go out there, be yourself, be bold.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Ben's life lessons. Ben's life lessons.
Ben's life lessons.
It's not just football we talk about on here. We talk about songs related to people's names. We give you life lessons.
Definitely tips on food.
Food.
It's all in there.
Food, yeah, it's all in there.
Definitely love food.
Yeah, but that's because we know fuck all about football.
Yeah. That's a fair argument. That's a fair argument.
That's the crux of the matter, Nick.
This is why we're always incredibly grateful when people like Grace and Alice agree to come on and actually have people that know what they're talking about instead of just us waffling on for a couple of hours.
I found the next round, by the way, Fyfie.
Oh, go on, Woody. I knew you would.
Swindon Super. They got to play the winners out of Swindon Supermarine or Headington. So the semi-final will be against Headington.
That's Grace's old team.
Yeah, I used to play for them.
I know. I was about to say that. I was about
Ooh.
to say it's your old team, Headington, isn't it? So yeah. It should be. It should be. That's a bit harsh on Supermarine, but given the fact that they've bailed out on Swindon Town every time, I have a little sympathy. But yeah, so it should be Headington, which will be a good game. I'm going to try and put that one in the diary when the date comes.
We actually lost to them 4-0 last time. Bit of a fluke game for us. I think that we knew we should have beat them, but I think we were like, oh, we are going to beat them, but we actually didn't. So we got to be in the right mindset next time.
They've got some good players there, Headington, as well. That would be a good
yeah,
game. In fact, if I was going to say to anybody who's able to watch, because it looks like looking at the tree, it'll be a home tie. It'll be a good game to watch, actually.
Yeah, definitely.
Headington have got some decent players as well. A few of them I know from kind of the Abingdon range, so that'd be a good game. I'm going to try and make sure I get to that one, actually.
Alex, let me bring you back in. Woody already said we had Beth on Friday, and I asked her a question that I mean, given what you've just gone through, is the perfect one. I flashed the fixture graphic up a little while ago, and I noticed you've got another 3 games in a week session coming up very soon. How difficult is it to gear yourself up both physically and mentally to play? I use the example, we're kind of used to seeing, if you're looking at high-level professional football, Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday kind of thing, but I suppose us as fans don't always recognise how difficult it is to get yourself ready in both aspects for such a quick turnaround.
Grace is sat there going, I
played 2 in 24 hours.
Two games in 24 hours.
I was going to ask the same thing.
Actually, I played 3. Believe it or not, I played on Friday as well.
She played for college on Friday.
When you're old like me, you need to have a constant flow of games, because if you stop, you're buggered. If I stop, I don't know if I'm going to run again. No, do you know what? Once you get the first game, and if you get a positive sort of game, it's easy to spur everyone onto the next game. The only thing sometimes that you can find tricky is just recovery. I know they say like you need to get 8 hours. If my child would sleep 8 hours, that'd be bloody great. But I don't think she's got the memo that I need to recover.
Doesn't understand.
She just doesn't understand.
Selfish.
But it is. But I think once you get a bit of positivity and you get a bit of confidence, I really enjoy it, because it's the momentum of playing another game, and hopefully can you do one better than you've done the last time. Everyone's sort of together because you've seen each other so much for such a long period of time. You sort of miss them. So like when it got to like Saturday, I was like, oh, I miss everyone. Then I was like, oh wait, Sunday tomorrow. And they're probably thinking today, don't miss Alice. I hope she don't come straight in tomorrow.
I'm sure that's certainly not the
That's
case.
not true. That's
But
not
no,
true.
I rather games just constant, because when you stop, that's sort of when you feel like the next game you're a little bit slower to start. So I think having more games, we're quicker off the mark, whereas sometimes it takes a little while to get into the games if you've had a little break.
Okay. And Grace, then, same question for you. Seems like you seem to be playing every day. I suppose it's quite easy for you. You just wake up, play, go to sleep again.
Let's not forget eating in between.
Oh, and eating, yeah.
Food's important.
But
it's definitely the same. It's
Sorry,
definitely
carry
the same
on.
for me. Like, I had the 2 week break at Christmas. I struggled when I came back. Like, I had another week where I was unbelievably bad. Like, I had a bad week. I was crying, couldn't save anything, and I was like, why? Just, what's happened?
I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at that. It's just the sheer like dramatization of it. It's like a movie waiting to be written.
She wasn't
You just-
listening to Adele more.
No.
Oh no, not another one.
No.
You've got to
Just
listen
that
to Adele when you're sad. I was crying, I had it full blast.
We need to start banning
I had it
Adele.
all. That's what I was singing.
God. Oh no. Let me ask you both then, and Grace, I'll start with you this time. The sort of common question that I bring these sort of sessions to a close with what's left of the season, what resembles success for you? I mean, the confidence you were talking with a few minutes ago, I'm guessing it's the double, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I would definitely think my 18s, we are a great team. We hold each other up, but I definitely think we are able to win the cup and the league this year. As a new team, it's such a great achievement, and I just wish the best for me and my girls.
No, 100%, and we wish you the best as well, of course.
Thank you very
it'd
much.
It'd be great to have you back on again at the end of the season with 2 winners' medals and even more confident than you are now.
Oh yeah, all the silver.
And Alice, how about for you? There's 9 league games left of the season. I know you were saying like you see that run of home games a chance to really get some points. But for you personally and the team as a whole, what resembles success in the last few weeks?
I think we've had success already. I think having like Grace and Emerson come up from the devs and under 18s to play and absolutely boss it, don't look out of place. For me, that's a success. Having them feel welcome and achieving to want to play with us again. Trying to get to 3rd, 4th place would be another great one. But just to continue to inspire the next generation, have more home games at Foundation Park and the county ground, and just get as many fans that are Swindon men's fans to change to Swindon women's fans and see the club grow. And I think that would be a great success at the end of the season. And I don't think it's too far off, to be honest.
No, I don't. I mean, there's certainly more talk that online that I see about it. Obviously, we make a point of making sure we speak about the women's team generally every episode, but at least in one of the 2 episodes every week as well. And as I said at the start, we're always delighted when people like yourselves are willing to come on and offer actual and factual, but also inspiring conversation and stories around it as well, to really bring home the point that to be fair, Woody in particular was very specific about when we started doing this, as I've said before, and I'm delighted he was, because it's easy to talk about men's football because it's more readily available. But me personally, I can't speak for Ben or for Nick, but me personally, I certainly feel like I've learned more about the game since we've been covering more and more of the women's football. I mean, even I put in our WhatsApp group either today or yesterday, I'm coming down to Swindon in a couple of weeks for the home game. I said, Swindon women are playing at home. Should we do a Fools Rush in afternoon out there as well?
Yes, love that.
So I'm already like, that's one of the first things I'm doing. When I know I'm coming, I'm looking at the fixtures. Oh yeah, the women are playing as well. Let's go.
Is that the
Mick,
day
I
after
love
the
that.
sponsorship thing?
Yeah, that
After
we
the-
that we haven't spoken about yet.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's,
You're in Torquay, you tell me, Woody.
I am in Torquay that Sunday. Yeah,
uh,
fortunately. I'll be hungover anyway, probably.
But yes, I'm certainly going to try and get a few of the guys out there with me to watch you. That's for sure that day.
perfect.
That's the plan anyway.
Craig and Joe will be there.
Craig and Joe will be there. That's for sure.
Craig and Joe, yeah.
And I'm sure I can drag Nick out there as well. I can convince.
Yeah, because
Nick.
he's got to sing. If I get the ball, Alice.
Yeah, I'd love Nick to start. Who the fuck is
That
Alice?
would be brilliant.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'll get kicked out
Not
for
the
that.
chances.
We'll have to pre-warn James or something, so he knows it's
It's
not
all right.
an
I'll
insult.
say he's with me.
Alice, can you get it as goal
Let me kick
music
you
or
out
anything?
quicker.
Yeah.
Can we get it as goal music?
Can you get his goal
Goal
music?
music.
So next time when you do pop one in from one of your corners, you do pop one in, you can blare out every time you score.
If I score one goal this season, that's my life mate.
She's singing it herself.
I just want one goal.
Yeah. It's me. It's me. I am Alice.
Super. Listen, Alice, Grace, thank you as ever for coming on. We really do appreciate it, and we hope to see you both again very soon. Like I say, I'm hoping to come watch Swindon women play in a couple of weeks when I'm down in Swindon. And the doors to Fools Rush In is always open if you want to come on and have a chat.
Perfect. Thank you, guys.
Thanks for
you.
having me.
Yeah. Cheers.
Take care.
Bye.
Take care, guys.
Always an absolute pleasure having them both join us. Great value, both of them. Very, very entertaining, but very informative as well. And I know we said it before, but I just love the confidence that Grace has. Superb. Absolutely superb. Shall we turn attention to the men's team then, guys? And back-to-back wins, Ben.
Hey, told you it would happen eventually, at some point, one day. And it did.
It certainly did. Let's start with you then, Ben, because you told us all it would happen eventually. And eventually came this weekend.
Yeah, it was a pretty routine win. I think we played the whole game out in the second and third gear. We didn't really need to do much. By half time, I think we just ghosted through and were 2-0 up without really, not really pushing ourselves. I do think there was a few minus points about the day. I think one a little bit with the fans as well. I think a couple of the stupid people got out and got quite noisy, especially giving Brennan some stick for passing around the back. And I think they got a bit calmer because now Brennan, I suspect, will probably be out now for the rest of the season. After making probably a really, really, really good, strong challenge, probably one of his best challenges of the day. But the performance as a whole was all right. It was pretty good. It was nothing to write home about. The game itself was pretty forgettable, but it was good to see Tomlinson get a goal. It was good to see good to see Morphy Richards get a couple as well. It's good. It was good for them to crack in a few, and it was a good win. It's 2 wins in 2, and we're taking off.
We're taking off. Well, let's start actually, if we can. Nick, Ben's already raised the point, and it's the subject that so many people are talking about, whether it's on places like Twitter, Facebook. I heard them talk about it on OSC before we came on. The fans booing, and particularly booing early doors. I know Woody has had plenty to say in our WhatsApp chat about it as well. But let me start with you, Nick. From where you were, could you hear it, and what was your reaction to it?
Yeah, we're right at the top of the Arkles. I was with Craig and my lad, and we were all just saying, like, shut up, what's wrong with you? You just don't be so stupid. It's all right. My lad was shouting out, it's okay. We're doing what we should be doing. We're keeping possession. It's not negative. We're moving them around. We're moving the ball forward. And as Ben said, each time Actually, maybe they ought to do it more, because each time they were giving it large with a booing, we stroked the ball about, went up the field and scored.
Yeah.
So, which was a bit ironic. But yeah, they're just, I don't know, just some fans who just wonder on their mentality, and and it's not. I don't think it's even young kids who are doing it who don't know any better. It's it's probably, I don't know, 40, 50, 60-year-olds that are just stupid. It beggars belief, to be honest, and it's really hard to explain why the hell would you do that. It's not far into the game. We're doing what we need to do. We're progressing. It isn't the sideways, boring, backwards and forwards, just in our own penalty area, which is what we had under Lindsay. We're actually moving people around. The midfield people are moving. We're progressing, and we're creating chances. What more do you want? And we got the goal at the end of it. So, yeah, it's staggering, to be honest. Absolutely staggering.
Before I ask Woody his thoughts, I got to show this comment. Was Nick the bloke I could hear on BBC Wiltshire screaming forward? It sounded like Anthony Grant was going to go and have a chat to the bloke.
No, that definitely wasn't me. 100% no. I'm quite a patient person watching football. I've watched Swindon for a long enough time to know that sometimes you just sit back and let the game evolve and enjoy it when it goes well, and don't what's the point of going to football and just moan and have a go at your own team? If you're going to have a go at anyone, have a go at their team, or whatever. Yeah. So and it's like the same old thing. I don't think I've ever left a game before the final whistle either. I support my team through and through and through. I mean, I've been at Forest when we lost 7-0 and stayed to the final whistle. It's bloody painful, but it's to me what a supporter should do. And unfortunately, we've got a small number that just have a different mentality, and it's hard to understand. Well, actually, no, sorry, Ben. I'll tell you what it is. Too many people watch too much Premiership football. That's the problem. We never had this in the past, because the only games on the TV back in my day was the FA Cup final. That was it. There is so much football saturating it, and people think, we're a League Two side that should be playing like Man City. Well, we're nowhere near that, and they need to accept of where we are. And I think that's what spoiled lower league football, all the stuff in the Premiership on Sky TV, I'm afraid. And that's what's killing a lot of clubs.
I was going to say, we're approaching the business end of the season now. It's crunch time. We need to start picking up points. The club need us more than ever. Away from home, we're amazing. Absolutely amazing. Best fans in the league. At home, it was a bit mortgish. It was 3-0 before we really started singing. It did lack atmosphere. Like when Harry McCurdy said last season, what you can hear is nothing. You can hear the away fans you could hear all 5 of their fans having a little chat at the start of it, and you could hear them having a little sing-song, just having it between themselves. And that was shocking. That was shocking. We need to step it up. We honestly, if we're going to give us any sort of chance, we need to do our bit as well. And yes, let's be a bit louder.
Well, it's interesting. I'm going to come back to you in a second on that, Ben. But I want to let Woody have his say first.
On just the booing, or
on the booing for now.
On the booing. So I was disappointed when I heard the booing. To be fair, more disappointed because it carried on when we were winning. For me, I've always said there's 2 ways in football to keep a lead. That's either extend that lead or keep hold of the ball so they don't get it. Harrogate were not putting any pressure on us at all. Now, sometimes I wonder. Now, I was never the best footballer in the world, but sometimes I wonder how many people who do the booing have actually played a game of football, because it is ridiculously hard to break down a team that are just sat in front of you like they were. Now, don't get me wrong, it can be frustrating to watch sometimes, but I'm going to level with all the Swindon fans that are doing it. It ain't going to go. It's the academy way of doing things. I know Nick mentioned about the Premier League. That is exactly how Man City started off doing it. You know, they started off giving the confidence to the back four to be able to, or the back three, to be able to have the ball at their feet. They all do it. It's not going to change with Jody Morris, because Jody Morris has coached academy players that have been told to play that way, and that's the way he knows. And to be honest with you, he had a lot of fucking success whilst doing it. So, you know, we're talking about a guy who's dealt with some of the best players in England at controlling the football. Mason Mount, the Hudson Odoi, is that how he pronounced his name? You know, players that are bloody good with the ball at their feet.
James,
and I think, yeah, exactly. And it really, really frustrates me when, and I think, like I said, it's the fact, and Ben makes a brilliant point there. It's the fact that we'll criticise our own team, we'll boo, we'll do all of this kind of stuff when we're not passing the ball forward, or anything like that. But when we score a goal, the first thing we do is slag off the opposition. Do you know what I mean? And I said this last year about our some of our fan base. Like, you know, like I know it's similar with all fan bases, but I genuinely think we are one of the worst for it, in terms of we very, very rarely, until we get like towards the end of the second half and we might be winning 3-0 or whatever, unless something really happens on the pitch, and I know what's going to come at me in a minute, it's going to be, well, they need to entertain on the pitch. We do not sing. We are one of the worst, especially at home. We can be one of the worst atmospheres. The game was controlled on Saturday. It was a control. I could never see us losing that game. We were not losing that game. They weren't good enough. We just had complete control of the game, especially after Hepburn Murphy got his goal. And I think, but yeah, I just don't, fans need to have a little bit more patience. We've got a lot of young players. And I don't want to see us. I'd rather us keep hold of the ball. Yeah, we could pass it a bit earlier. Yes, we could open up the centre a little bit earlier. But I'd much rather see us trying to do that and trying to spread teams out and widen them, rather than picking the ball up at our feet and hoofing it up to a player who's not going to get on the end of it. Because if we look at Saturday, if we're hoofing that ball on Saturday, Wakelin's not getting to it because he's too far out wide. Hepburn Murphy's too far the other side, and Charlie Austin's too deep. So we would have just lost the ball, and then Harrogate would have probably got the ball back, gone up the other pitch and scored probably the scrawniest goal in the world, and then just sat in front of us, and we wouldn't have been able to break it down. So yes, I'm not saying it sometimes can be frustrating to watch, but don't boo your team without knowing the reason why they're doing it. The reason it gets passed along the back is to try and open up gaps. There needs to be a concentration. This is where Jody comes in. There needs to be an area where he needs to look at that midfield, 3, 4, however many we're playing in midfield, to look at their positioning off the ball so that those gaps open up quicker. But when you're playing a block, those back four aren't getting challenged. Where do you think those forward players for Harrogate are? They're in the middle of the park. So it's almost like 6 versus 3 in the middle of the park, out of our favour. So whilst I understand it can be frustrating to watch, you've just got. But I really do not understand the booing. If we're losing and it's half time and we've played shit, I get the booing. If it's full time and I get the booing. But to boo, I think the first one was about 9 minutes into the game. 9 minutes,
absolutely stupid.
And like I say, these guys, they're not doing it from a level of we're going to pass to irritate the fans. They're not doing it on purpose to irritate us. We got ball playing defenders, and I can't remember whether it was Nick or Ben said about karma when it came to Brennan.
Yeah, Brennan.
Like, why are we booing Brennan when he's doing what he's told to do? And then he's gone ahead and done what everybody wants to see him do. He puts in a fucking great challenge and goes off injured. So I just think we need to be more patient as a fan base, but let's start actually getting behind the team rather than the worst one for me is in the town end. The first thing we do is pick up on the fucking goalkeeper's name, and then we end up chanting his name for about 30 minutes. It's just like, what purpose is that serving? And I don't get it, because when we go away, it's a completely different atmosphere. Everybody's behind the team. All the songs are starting. That's why I don't try to get too overwhelmed when we all say we're the best away support in the league, because for me, it's pointless being the best away support in the league if you do fuck all at home. And I agree with Ben. I was sat near where Nick normally sits by the commentary boxes, and I rarely could hear our fans throughout the whole game. But Harrogate, all like Ben said, there was only 70 odd of them. You could hear them. Yeah, you could hear them. you could hear them. They were having a great time. 3-0 down, and they're having the time of their lives. Yeah, if that was us the other way around, we'd be criticising our fans for cheering them when we're 3-0 down. So it's kind of, it's just, I generally don't get it. I want somebody to come up to me and explain why it is acceptable to boo when we're 1-0 up. I'm not 0-0. I'm going to let that slide for 9 minutes because I just think that's stupidity. But I really want someone to explain to me why, when we're 1-0 up, we're in control of the game. Why are they booing when Brennan's gone out to Hutton? Hutton's come back inside to Brennan. And that's exactly what the pattern was at that point. It then went into Kane. Kane was pressurised by Armstrong straight away. So Kane went back, and then it went back to Bryn to change the picture and open a wider pitch. I just don't get it. I don't get it. I'm sorry if someone says to explain to me why, I'll hold my hands up and say I know fuck all about football. But it's how we're all taught as new coach. Well, I'm not a new coach anymore, but it's how all the coaches are taught how to, possession based football. That's where it starts. You build up from the back, and we ain't going to get rid of that. So what's the point of booing it when we're not going to stop doing it?
These are also young players as well, and they're going to take safe options. If they got fans on the back, they're not going to take a risk on a pass. They're not going to slip that reverse ball in there. They're just going to play a nice sideways safe ball so no one gets on their back. And that's what happens. It gets in the heads. It's psychological. We're doing our own team a misjustice. We're working against our own side, which is the opposite thing that we should be doing. Which is probably why our away form is probably as good as our home form in a minute. It's a poor form by Swindon fans.
Before I come back,
it's important to know we're not talking about all Swindon fans.
No,
I say we as a collective.
I'm talking about this game as an example. There's been times when we're brilliant, and the big games when we turn it on, we're fantastic, and the county ground's rocking. And obviously, please don't come beat me up. But
nobody beat me up when I said
just in that sense. I totally understand why Jody Morris was frustrated at the Town fans, because on that particular game, it was a bit silly.
Well, Paddy's tweeted on that one specifically saying, great points from Woody the coach, but trust me, that's not the opinion of those around us in the Don Rogers stand. Not booing around us, but pure frustration. No one is saying what Woody just said so well. So well done, Woody. Before I come back to Ben, though, I did just want to pick up on one thing, Woody, and I can't answer the question you've asked, because it's not my style either. But it's kind of something we picked up on a long time ago. But do you think there's a general change in attitude? I mean, you said, why is the first thing we do after we score is to start going at the opposition fans instead of cheering our own players? It's very similar to me about how if we lose, we've been awful. But if we win, we never praise the team. It was the opposition weren't very good. We can't say that we played well. It's always they were terrible.
Yeah, and we said that before in this pod. I think I had a little rant about it quite a couple of months ago, didn't I? That it irritated me that when we did win a couple of games out of 5 or whatever the run in kind of October was, that all of a sudden everybody was like, "Oh, that just proves how shit League 2 is." And it's just like, well, with all due respect, we're in League 2 for a reason, because we're not good enough to be in League 1. Whatever way you look at it, we're not good enough to be in League 1. And a lot of it comes from kind of the history reliers that kind of think because we're in the Premiership once, we're automatically entitled to be in the Premiership every year. It winds me up that, because actually, to be fair, the reason we won 3-0 on Saturday was because Harrogate was shit. But the reason we won was because we were the better team. So we won 3-0 because they weren't very good. Similar to Grimsby. Like Grimsby weren't shit, but we won because they had to open up against us because they had no other option. They were trying to get something out of the game. So whilst I appreciate the League 2, there are some rather dodgy teams in terms of footballing style. Sometimes the opposition, I think Ned said this before, you can make an opposition look bad just by the way you play, and that's why we've had more
than one opposition made us look bad this seaon.
Yeah, exactly. And I think maybe it's a negative mindset for fans. I don't know. I always struggle. I've always struggled, even when we all have different opinions on here. But I always struggle when one of the lads say, we won because they were shit. This shows how shit this league is, and because at the end of the day, we don't have any automatic right not to be in this league. You know, so for me, we were the better team on Saturday. That's the reason we won. The fundamental thing is we were the better team. We weren't lucky. Yes, we earned some luck with Murphy's goals, but we would have won that game anyway. I said it was a control performance. I think we were always winning that game. But again, you're right. It's like we talk about that chant, like the goalkeepers, they go, "It's all your fault. It's all your fault." Like how long was it until bloody Ellis Iandolo had a fucking chant? You know, we discussed this a while ago. You know, like it took so long for him to get a chant, and yet, with all due respect, I know I'm all for the support, but Adeloy has only played about 20 minutes for us, and he's got a chant. You know, it's like, Wakelin, I don't think's got one yet, and he's played nearly every bloody game for us. And so, I don't know. I don't know what goes through the head when we're trying to think of these chants, but I missed that. We struggled to beat teams at home, but
top half teams. Ben, let me pick up on one or along the lines of one point you made, and then we'll move on to maybe happier bits from the game, because let's face it, we're talking about again a negative element, despite the fact that we've won 3-0. Is there and I personally don't agree with this point, but it is something that's been said with regards to people booing. Is there a case of they pay their money, they have every right to react how they want to react?
A few people can say that, and you know, they pay 25 quid if they want to boo, they'll boo if they want. It's not actually doing any good for the team itself, so it's just a silly thing to do anyway, you know. But you're absolutely right. If you want to boo, you can boo. You can shout for Oxford if you want. If you want to go pay 25 quid and say, "Come on, Oxford," you pay 25 quid, say what you like. But it's not helping, is it? You're not.
And that's what you're trying to make, isn't it? I
understand it's frustrating because you want them to go, right, let's go for the kill, let's go for them. But Harrogate, even at 1-0, Harrogate weren't being drawn out at all. So the only way we can do it is try and get them to press and try and find and look for little gaps to pass through so we can pass through them. Because we're not changing our style of play because Harrogate are going to say, because that's what Harrogate want us to do. They want us to start lumping it in, because then when the games turn scrappy, and the game turns scrappy, then that's their game. That's what they want. They want us to be off. So it's just a little bit more, I would say football intelligence, by the fact, patience, just be a little bit more patient. That game was always going to open up. Harrogate, as long as we were winning, we're always going to eventually going to start to come out as we were always going to create chances, because Harrogate weren't that good. You just need to hang on in there. And the chances did come in the game. And the second half, the game did open up a little bit, and we were getting more spaces in the final third. It's not all going to happen crash bang wallop like the Grimsby game, but Grimsby were down to 10 men and we were ultra attacking. We're not going to do that.
And they weren't defensive, let's be fair.
No, Grimsby sort of played their part in our 5-0 win, because rather than just cut their losses, they carried on trying to score goals, which gave us a bit of space to go through, and they had a man light. So, so Grimsby played their part in our 5-0 win, and we thank them for it because it was a wonderful day. But Harrogate aren't going to do that. They're going to just make life. They're going to do the exact opposite that we don't want. And they just want us to stay in the game as long as they can. If they can nick a corner, a free kick, a set play, and Armstrong just get on top of a free kick because we're short at the back, and then nick a goal, and then they run away with a 1-1, then that's their job done, because any point from them away from home is a bonus trying to stay up. So that they had no intention of breaking out and having a go at us.
I'm going to come back to you on the Harrogate centre forward, because I heard you on Lower League Look, and you were very complimentary about his work ethic and but I'll come back to you on that one in a minute. Nick, let's talk happier things about the win. In spite of what Woody said a couple of minutes ago, I've titled this episode "Better to be lucky than good," because there was a fair. I think it's not doing anyone a disservice for me to say, watching the goals back, there was an element of luck to all of them, but particularly the second and third.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd agree with you on that, to be honest, Fyfie. No. But just before I answer that, a key word both Woody and Ben mentioned was patience. Now, I listened to something that Jody Morris said, and he said at times we didn't move the ball forward enough, quick enough. So it's taking the players a while to understand what he wants, how he wants them to play. And he said some players aren't as confident as they should be, so which is why they take a safer option. I think he wants them to be braver. The more they do it, the more confident they will be. So, and I know it's the wrong end of the season for it, but we do need to give the fans need to give the team a level of patience, and then we will be okay from that. So that's I think that's quite a key thing that both Woody and Ben have picked up on. But with the goals, I mean, the first goal to me was exactly the same goal that Charlie Austin scored on his first game back.
Yeah.
Ball out to the right, Hutton crossed it in, far post, headed back across goal to where it came from. Spot on,
first
good
goal
goal.
was a very good goal, yeah.
Yeah,
Good
goal. The second goal, I wouldn't say it's lucky. To me, that's a typical forwards goal. You get yourself in a position. There's players around you. You take a swing at it. Not the best connection. And how many times have we seen it where a bloke makes a perfect connection and it goes straight to the keeper or hits the defender? Yeah, he scuffed it. And I guess you could say, yeah, there's an element of luck. It just went in at the far post. But he's in the right place. And that's all you ask for, is to get in there to do it. The third goal, I think, again, I mean, that was
even you struggled not to chuckle there, Nick.
Well, we would look at, we're right at the top of the argument. Who put that in the net? What the hell happened there? But I will say, and probably this is what Tomlinson brings to the team, and he is probably one of the few players that does get the crowd going because of his demeanour and how he plays and how he does interact with the crowd, whereas most of them don't. But the effort he put in to get on the end of that ball and to keep going, how many players would have given that up and been happy to go out for a corner? He kept going, and yes, he got a bit of, let's call it, good fortune that. I think good fortune that he's probably been credited with the goal. I think that's still the case. I mean, the good job we ain't got a VAR, because it probably wasn't his. But without him doing that, we wouldn't have scored it. So again, effort, persistence, give that bit extra. It's what you want defenders to do, to put that extra tackle in, put that extra block in, and if you want someone in the 6-yard box at the other end to get in there where it matters. So for me, that was in some ways probably the one of the best things of the game, what he did there at the end. So yeah, great stuff.
Woody, Nick's just mentioned there about Tomlinson. A lot of fans obviously delighted to see him back in the team, back wearing the red, in the goals. I believe that's the second time he scored on his debut as well. Very much considered, local lad, and as Nick said, someone else who seems to naturally get the fans behind him and therefore the team.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the local connection helps with him getting the fans behind him as well. I mean, I generally thought the ball was nowhere near on target when he scrambled for that goal. But now I've seen the replay, and from the other angle, he has headed it towards goal, to be fair to him. So, but I'm chuffed for him. I look back and I felt a bit foolish because, like, this time last week, I'm sat there thinking, is he ever going to play? Was he what was the point in signing him if he's never going to play? So I'll hold up my hands and say I'm probably a bit foolish on that one. I mean, I was probably the first one when Joe and I were in the Legends to say, blimey, he's on the bench. Like, I thought he might get 20 minutes at the end. I think he did get 20 minutes roughly at the end. But it's great. Obviously, I think anybody scoring on their debut is always great anyway. But obviously to see Joey do it again, you could see how much it meant to him, the celebration afterwards. 3-0 up and we've celebrated like we've just scored a last minute winner. It's kind of but it's what you want to see, isn't it? It's what you want to he does inject that little bit, and I quite like kind of because he was interviewed, wasn't he, afterwards, and I quite like he's got a nice bit of arrogance, just the right level of arrogance about him as well. And I want him to do well. He's surprised me that he's come back so soon, and I'm still not going to say he's the best left back in the league yet, Ben, but because he wasn't even playing left back on Saturday. But
wing back, I said best wing back.
But yeah, it's hopefully. I mean, as a confidence when you've been out injured for so long, there's nothing more than coming on and scoring a goal, is there? So, but again, it's that persistence that, as Nick said, about to get that goal in the first place. He was not giving up on that ball. That ball was going in the back of the net, I think, even if he had thrown his body at it. And, I often use persistence as such a key element of looking at a player. For me, it was what got Wayne Rooney recognised. It wasn't necessarily his skill level. It was the fact that Wayne Rooney could bulldoze a team just because he wasn't letting anybody else have that ball. He wasn't always about sidesteps and all. I'm not comparing them directly, but I'm just saying that persistence has such a big thing in
Swindon's Wayne Rooney.
Swindon's Wayne Rooney, yeah, Swindon's Wayne Rooney. But
Swindon's Wayne Rooney is a left back.
Yeah, I'm just I am really chuffed for him. I'd love to see it if he's fit enough potentially to get into the starting lineup. Just on that basis, but from our point of view, bearing in mind we've just spoken about the fans, Joe can't be the man that gets the fans going. Do you know what I mean? He can't be. It's not up to Joe. It's not up to Jody to bring Joe on to get the fans going. At the end of the day, we've spoken enough about the fans tonight, but there's a reason why Jody Morris didn't really stay out to clap. He obviously wasn't happy as well. So yeah, happy for Joe though. I'm sure one of many. I got a feeling he might score a couple if he's already in there this season. So yeah.
Okay, Ben, I said I was gonna, let's offer a word on the opposition, and like I say, I was listening to you on Lower League Look, and you were very complimentary about one Harrogate player in particular.
Yeah, Armstrong. I've always quite liked him, and I've always thought that he probably could do a little bit better than Harrogate. I thought he could do a top end League 2 club or even a lower end League 1 club and be quite fine. He's a natural goal scorer. He works his absolute socks off, and he had no one around him, absolutely nothing, and he just endlessly ran for endless channels, pointless runs, because even if he did win the ball, he had no one around him to pass it or lay it off to, so his job was practically impossible, but he kept going. And he's a strong player. He knows where the goal is because he's got a great goal record, and I think he's quite a good player. I'm surprised he's still there, to be honest.
Yeah. Speaking of good players, sticking with you, Ben, McEachran, every game, he seems to come out full of plaudits.
McEachran.
Well done, Ben. Yes, Ben.
McEachran, yes. Busy player. I was quite looking forward. His player most looking forward to watching today. Yesterday, and Saturday. Yeah, he gets everywhere, doesn't he? He's got a fantastic engine. I can't believe that he's as fit as he is after not playing for so long. He must have been working his absolute socks off every week, even without no games.
He was training at Chelsea, wasn't he? While he didn't have a club.
I didn't know that if he was still training with them or not. I don't know, to be quite honest. But he doesn't look like he's not been playing all season. He looks like an integral part of the squad already, and a very important part of the squad. And he was everywhere, all over the park, and he's quite a clever player, very skillful, good eye for a pass. And I think he's going to be quite an important asset. And let's hope he's still with us next season.
100%. Nick, one other thing from Saturday. We've already touched on Brennan's injury, which adds to the ever-growing list. I think Woody took up my mantle of the sarcastic. It's a good job we got a shitload of centre-backs comment in our WhatsApp group. He beat me to it this time. Let's not devalue, even if Harrogate weren't the most testing opposition, what a clean sheet can do for what is becoming more and more of a makeshift defence by the minute.
Yeah, 100%. It was a worry, and you wondered who was going to go back into that centre back role. Obviously,
Mr. Water got it right, didn't he?
I don't know. Was
Yeah,
it?
what was it said on Friday night that he could see Kaji playing centre back? I'm sure.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he wasn't put under any pressure. He's obviously a skillful player. He comes out with the ball. He can play that sort of role. Obviously, he changed it to a back five to give that bit of extra protection, which you can understand. And that probably slowed us down a bit going forward. And you want to keep it clean. I think it was it would have been 2-0 when he went off. You don't want to give them a chance for a goal and get them back into it, and then it starts getting nervous. So he did the right thing. Obviously, Jody Morris is very tactically aware, and from that point of view, we've got a really good coach there, and it will change it as is needed. So how we go forward from this, obviously we'll debate that on Friday, but it'll be really interesting to see where we go.
Nick, I'll tell you what it won't be. It still won't be Minton.
No,
it won't be.
Mike saying here in the comments, I could genuinely see Mildy and Gunning playing before the end of the season, the way we're going. And Steve saying, when is Mad Gav going to play? Mino doesn't seem to be fancied by Jody. Someone else that we've spoken about quite a bit on this podcast, and Minton has got a lot of mention the last couple of weeks for being on the bench but not being played. Aguiar in the same bracket, Nick. Not getting the game time that some people may be expecting.
Yeah, in fairness, I mean, when he first came into the team, he looked really good. I think it's going back to the Walsall game. He scored a couple of really good goals. In fairness, there probably isn't a place for him. I'll tell you, I was also impressed with on Saturday. You come on, was Darcy. He
busy.
Obviously he's like any footballer. He wants to start games. He come on, did really well. Was unlucky with a couple of shots. Could have scored. And the one I was a little bit disappointed with was Kane. For me, he didn't do a lot in the game. It might just be that it bit went under the radar a bit, but some of his passing wasn't great. To me, his movement wasn't great. So if you've got the players we've got in midfield, we are, even though our injury list keeps growing on the midfield, I think we've got quite a strong midfield. And now Johnny Williams is back. Where would you put Aguiar? Who would you put him ahead of?
Yeah.
I say Darcy. He did the job at Salford last week. He come on, looked good.
Oh, you're
Saturday.
One of those, Nick. You call them Salford.
Oh, yeah, that's my... well, sorry, that's my mixture of Wiltshire, Oxfordshire accents. So, it's all mixed up. So,
Saltyford.
Saltyford.
Them lot. So I, in the moment, there isn't really a place for him to start for me.
Okay. I want to move on to another topic now. Now, you guys, I'm going to say...
You're flying through this, mate. It's only an hour and 18. We've got at least another 2 hours to film.
I know. You guys have been saved because very dear friend of the show, Mike, with some assistance, it has to be said, because he wouldn't like me to give him all the credit for this one. He has prepared one hell of a quiz for you boys. However, I think it's better suited to when there's a slightly larger panel and we might get a real array of answers. So I'm going to save the quiz, but it's a two-parter as well. So that's something to look forward to over the next episode or two. So what I am interested is I'm going to go back to Twitter and a question that got sent in by Paddy, which was already on the list of things I wanted to ask you about. And Woody, I'll start with you. The tweet is this. At Fools Rush In, one for tonight. The opinions of the panel on the club's latest PR gaff stroke own goal. The general opinion in the replies is one of them making themselves a laughingstock as ever yet again. Do they have a PR gaff volunteer for these continued own goals?
I haven't seen the replies. I've seen obviously the main post, and I thought, for God's sake, Swindon is exactly what I thought when I read it. And I think Craig said it in our chat. Like, it is an own goal. We're talking, there's the rumours of Austin being paid 17 grand a week. There's the rumours of, with Johnny Williams being paid 5k a week. And with all due respect, and I'm looking at this from somebody who recruits social media people. It's not exactly I guess, speciality, if you like, that's going to be really expensive to hire in the nicest way, because we all
Put
know.
it this way, we managed to knock something semi-decent out twice a week with zero actual experience.
Exactly. And it's just like football has always had that advantage, that because they pay the players so much, they've always had that advantage that everybody wants to work for a football club, so they can get away with paying less for certain roles. So if I did my equivalent as my role at Swindon now, I'd probably be on half the salary. I don't know that for a fact, by the way. I'm just going based on what I know of Swindon jobs. And they get away with it because people want to work for football clubs. I saw a role at Forest Green Rovers, which was the head of women's and girls football. They're the same level as Wootton Bassett, and the guy who sent it to me, not to apply, he was just sending it to me. I think it was advertised 22 to 24k a year. And he said to me, he's worked in football, and he said they pay this in men's football for some of those type of roles. So it kind of gives you an idea of like, you don't need to pay that much money to bring in that expertise. And I do think that we did it a while ago, didn't we, Swindon? And I just think that we're relying on this kind of goodwill that the club are going to automatically put in. I was about to come on to that, actually, funnily enough. But they rely on this goodwill. But this is the goodwill of this person's going to be a fan. That fan has already spent 80 quid on shirts this season. That fan has already spent 450 or 400 pound on a season ticket. That fan is already travelling to the game every week. You're now asking them for their free time to go and actually promote the football club and do the job of the social media department or the PR department for them. I do think it's a way of them saying, we don't send people to the academy games or the women's games because we don't have the personnel. That's what they're trying to say. But if they just bring in someone like a college student, like a grad, it's a great opportunity for somebody who's just done a social media graduate or whatever, on a bit of a lower salary, because that's how the world works, unfortunately. You start at a low salary, you make your way up. That's a great opportunity to bring in an apprentice to come in, learn the trade off who's the current social media guys there. I just don't understand why it feels that in some ways we're kind of going the other way to kind of now save the club money, but it's saving the club money versus, kind of really taking the piss, in my opinion. I think it's taking the piss, because you'll get Bristol City, Bristol Rovers, they'll be paying for a role like that. In fact, I'm pretty sure with Bristol Rovers, they do have a paid role for that role. I don't understand the mentality of wanting to rely on goodwill all the time. It's not we're in the middle of a cost of living crisis.
Yep.
Where people have got less time. I mean, obviously we're grateful, but we probably only put stuff out regularly because we have a regular time slot. It's not like a case of where we can go, oh, actually, let's change it this week to Wednesday. Let's change it this week to Tuesday, because we all have lives to live. And now you're asking a person who probably has a full-time job, is already going to Swindon games anyway. Don't get me wrong, I've not read the full advert, so I don't know if there's any benefits to this role, whether they get a free season ticket or whatever. Probably not. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the kind of role where they don't even get a training kit, like a tracksuit that they can wear proudly when they're going to work for the town. So yeah, it is disappointing. I do think it's an own goal. And I 100% agree with what I saw of Mike's comment there in terms of this could be an opportunity for somebody who's just brand new, fresh faced, because it doesn't need the level of exposure that you do for the men's game, because it's not a professional game. But it will always come back to that argument of how far can you get the voluntary football? You know, they're talking about progressing the women's, and I know there's a lot of focus on the women's sector for this role, isn't there? You know, they're talking about that, but they want the women's to progress into tier 3, potentially even tier 2 one day. They do realise they're going to have to start paying the coaches for that at some point. You know, they're going to have to start looking at expenses. They're going to have to start looking at contracted players and stuff like that. They ain't going to be able to do this on goodwill forever. You know, there's only so much longevity that people will give for goodwill. But yeah, that's my rant over. All I'm saying is that I did it for free for a long time. Swindon had their opportunity, and it didn't have. So you know, it's not hard to do, but I just think you'll be very lucky to find the right frame of mind person who would actually want to do that for free.
So you haven't seen it, and for anyone watching that hasn't seen it, it's a fairly short piece on the website, and we have shared it. So if you are interested, but please, by all means, do go read up on it and send in the applications. But here's what it says on the actual piece from Swindon Town on the website. We're looking for volunteer photographers, videographers, club journalists, and content creators to join our media team, providing the ideal opportunity for anyone who is starting out in the media industry to gain some valuable experience while enhancing their skill set in a professional football environment. You'll have a keen interest and knowledge of the game at all levels, as we look for individuals to assist with our coverage of our first, women's and academy teams. We're keen to bring our web and social channels to life and genuinely increase our output with creative ideas. So if you have access to travel and or have a valid driving license and your own equipment, such as mobile phone, camera and laptop, we'd love to hear from you. The number of hours you can provide us can be shaped around what you can offer, but we are keen to have more of a presence at our women's and academy games in a bid to raise their respective profiles. And of course, we'll cover all expenses. If you're interested and aged 16 or over, then send a copy of your CV along with examples of work outlining which area you are most interested in. Now, I was reading that on the left of my screen, but I had one eye on your reaction as I was reading it, Woody.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, exactly. I think my reaction probably said it all. I can see what they're trying to do still. And I was reading it at the same time you were reading it out, and I think we'll cover all your expenses, but you do have to kind of travel, use your own car, which I get the car thing. I totally get that. Use your own mobile phone. You can get an unlimited mobile phone for somebody to do this for you. Use your own laptop. A laptop isn't a heavy expense. You have to bring your own camera. But what made me laugh the most was, if you're interested, then send us a copy of your CV, so detailing that they're looking for specific individuals, with some examples of your work. Now, I know they don't want to give it to any Tom, Dick or Harry, but if I'm coming there with my absolute portfolio of social media activity, yeah, well, it says Cal Ross, sorry, yeah. You got me confused there, Mike, because it's also Callum Knowles that's posted the, looks like he's the contact for it. But I think he's on about Cal Ross from Swindon Town Women. But yeah, and actually, yeah, I fully agree. You've got a volunteer photographer already there, taking photos is at every training session, pretty much every game, and stuff like that. Just chuck a bit of expense his way if you want a free photography type thing. But yeah, it's in a world that is with an employee-led market, as we often say in HR at the moment, it's an employee-led market, and we've got a company trying to get free labour. It's volunteering to a whole new aspect, in my opinion.
Now, for me personally, when I read it, because I got sent it, as you guys know, the first thing I said was that would have at one point in time, that was my ideal job, was to do that kind of thing. But what was particularly interesting for me, and I can only speak for myself when I say this, when we're in an age where I think, Ben, you're as well equipped as anyone to answer this. As Swindon Town fans, and I don't just mean us here, but as Swindon Town fans, we are blessed with an extraordinary amount of varied content that is fan made. I would say. Would you agree?
Absolutely, 100%.
Without going too deep into the what goes on in the background, at a time where the club is telling people like ourselves that there's no opportunity to do X, Y, or Z with the club at the moment, and then they go and stick something out like that. I mean, let's be honest. We've been very fortunate tonight to have 2 members of Swindon Town Women's on our show tonight. Now, that stemmed from me messaging Woody and sending a DM to Alice asking her if she'd be interested in coming on, and Woody kindly arranging it with Grace as well. We're having, and I've got no problem in that sense in going to these people directly and saying, look, would you be interested in coming on Fools Rush In, blah, blah, blah. But when the club is saying you can't do X, Y, or Z, but then they want someone on their own free time of their own money, essentially, to go and do X, Y, Z, when there are plenty of outlets that can already help them do X, Y, Z as well. If they don't want to link, and I agree with Mike, the first and foremost, they should be going to colleges and like what he said, even early in university and stuff, and there are perfect people to do that with if they get the right connection. But if they don't want to do that, Swindon Town of all clubs have got, I think there's, off the top of my head, probably 11 different outlets that can do these things, but the club don't necessarily want to do that sort of stuff. And I don't personally understand it. I mean, Nick, from someone like yourself, it wouldn't necessarily have caught your eye, that piece initially, but do you understand the negative reaction it's had from the majority of fans when you read what's entailed?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, what you read out there is a professional job. It's an advert for a professional job. It's simple as that. And yes, if they want to go down the route of developing somebody in that role, tie in with the colleges, tie in with the schools, and they're talking 16 plus, and bring people in from there. Think how much, we're supposed to be a community-based club, aren't we? Isn't that a great link into a college, those types of roles?
Oh, 100%.
I mean, a phrase comes to mind with me, and think how much criticism other clubs would get from Swindon fans in Swindon sites like ours. It's tin pot. It really, really is. It is absolute. Well, I think. Well, I try not to say probably what I really think, but
go on, Nick. Do it. Upset all the viewers by swearing, Nick. Go on.
I'm not going to swear. I'm not going to swear. But it's okay. The word I'd use, it's embarrassing for a club that's got aspirations of going up through the leagues, building a new stadium, engaging the fan base, engaging the community. What they've just done is a million miles away from that. And if they don't understand that, we haven't got people at the top doing their job. We've criticised over the last few weeks the leadership of the club and how other things have not happened, which should have happened. And this looks like a very similar thing. That there's somebody sitting there who hasn't got a clue what they're doing, and they're making decisions. They're going in the wrong direction, giving people, ammunition to fire at them, which is the total opposite of what you want. As I say, we're supposed to be a community-based club. I mean, obviously I live outside of Swindon, so I don't see a lot of the stuff that goes on in and around the club and with the foundation and all the other things going on. But it's a massive own goal. It couldn't be a bigger one. Nice one, Steve. I mean, the other thing I'd say, I've worked for contractors, and if anybody's worked for a contractor, you know how tight they are. And they won't give you anything unless they have to. I work for contractors that give you a mobile phone. They give you a vehicle. They'll even let you use for some private stuff. They'll give you a computer. They'll give you all the things you need to do your job. And saying that Swindon are worse than some of the contractors I've worked for, I think for me sums it up.
Well, it's worth noting in the last 6 or 7 minutes, Swindon Town have replied to one particular response. So I'll read both the initial reply and Swindon Town's reply. So it's come from an account called Amos Murphy that says, "Hi, official STFC. You can't be a volunteer and a professional at the same time. It doesn't work like that. Pay your media staff properly, especially if you're listing roles that require experience and/or a driving license." To which Swindon Town have replied, "Hi, Amos Murphy. It seems our appeal has been misinterpreted. We are reaching out to those aspiring to become media professionals, so this is very much aimed at helping those starting out, but also assisting the club's media team too."
I will add as well, from that, obviously I saw that from the club, and I just, because that was literally 5 minutes ago that was tweeted back. When I'm quite happy to be challenged on this, should anybody of the club be watching, because part of my role, I'm responsible for making sure that 1,400 volunteers come through to help out with putting on the air tattoo every year. So if you want to talk to somebody about the value of volunteers and how you should recompense them, I'm all ears, Swindon. I'm all ears. I'll give it to you for free. It's I'll tell you exactly where where they see the value. Yeah, yes.
I'll give it to you for free. Brilliant.
I'll give it to you for free. I'll do it out of the goodwill of my heart as to how we managed to get 1,400 volunteers, and you've got backlash because you want one.
Paddy has got involved in this particular discussion on Twitter. He's put out Fools Rush In. The problem 100% of the time with these PR own goals is they always make them. It's like no thought goes into their PR whatsoever. They do it and then wonder why they get flack in response. For all the good things the club try to do, they do still appear to be doing things on the cheap, on a shoestring. It's pitiful. Now, I'm not linking the two things together, but one thing when I was reflecting on this, Ben, that I did find quite amusing is if you go back, 3 months, we were talking about how the club had seemingly turned its back on, let's say, 14 to 17-year-olds. And now all of a sudden, 16 plus are wanted, not just like they're wanted within the club.
That's actually a very good point, seeing as they banned all the young kids from going to the games. Now they're knocking on the doors, cap in hand, going, "Do you fancy a job for free?" It's I think they call that the full 180, isn't it?
180. They've got 720 on this one by the looks of it. That's for sure. But yeah, it on reflection, it did make me chuckle.
Nick got it spot on, to be fair. Like, I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, like, is that an advert for like Aberdeen United or Royal Wootton Bassett Town Football Club that they need somebody? I mean, even when I'm crying out for volunteers, I'm not putting that I expect you to send through a CV. I'm saying, can I just have a chat about it? If you're interested, let's have a chat. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't put out if you're interested, come and, if you're interested, get involved. The wording is very important with these things. They've made that sound, I think somebody put it on Twitter, they've made that sound like a job. That is a full-blown job that Swindon will have control over. This person will not have really any free reign except giving up their own time. And then the problem is that you've got the risk with a volunteer in that role. They could come in and they can make it look the dog's bollocks for the first 2 weeks. The moment they go off for a week, we know what happens when the social media go off for a week at Swindon Town. It's the moment they go off for a week, it's all forgotten about, and then they're trying to catch up. What happens at that point to that poor individual who's given up his time and then goes on holiday? This is where the element of having a paid employee has a difference. That you ask for a volunteer, if they only get one volunteer to cover all of that, maybe 2 volunteers, then there's no responsibility or accountability on that person to deliver us good social media. And I've always said, I've run social media accounts for the clubs I've been at, including Swindon. And I've always said that there's nothing worse than a club that will post 150 things one week and then not post anything for 3 weeks.
You're most telling one that you've told me, and it's, do you know what, of all the things, and there's a lot of things you've said that have really made me think, but the one that has stuck with me for a while now is clubs that tweet when they win and don't when they lose.
Yeah, exactly that. And also, can I just say, right, if I go out there and sell halftime draw tickets, I'll get paid 30 quid for that. I'll get paid 30 quid for that. I could probably do a bit of club promotion whilst doing it, and it pays for my ticket to get into the game. So let's factor it up there that the official supporters club are willing to pay somebody £30 to sell a load of tickets, which is great, by the way. Not against that. You know, an organisation that is reliant on funding, is reliant on volunteers. Yeah, a professional football club isn't going to pay 50 quid a week or whatever to a 17-year-old who's just come out of college. You know, I don't necessarily agree with the driving license comment, because sometimes the driving license is key, but the CV, the looking for experience and all that kind of stuff, I'm sorry, but I'm you know, I bet you they've had people in the past. In fact, I almost guarantee it. They've had people in the past that's messaged the club and said, I just want to get a bit of social media experience. Do you mind if I do a little bit of stuff? There was a guy, wasn't there? The videographer guy. He was doing it for free for a while. And then they took him on. I bet you they turned that person down and said it's not within our remit. I almost guarantee they said, no, we can't let you have voluntary access to this. Similar to the reason why we get blocked off from having interviews and stuff like that, because they can't have the control over it. Now they're advertising for it. They can have the control over what's going out and what's not going out. So yeah. Anyway, I'm going to shut up now because I'm boring our viewers with my rant.
It's what they come for. The claim is they come for the entertainment. They stay for the ranting. I think that's the tagline for Fools Rush In. That's for sure. Listen, gents, it's been a pleasure. I think I'm going to call it there for Monday night. We will reconvene on Friday. Well, I say we. I haven't told the guys this yet, but I need to speak to either Woody, Craig, or Rich about sitting in on Friday, because Fools Rush In's head boy is going to watch another podcast and a live show, because Under the Cosh are in Leicester on Friday. Ooh. And I'm going to go and see it. So someone else will be behind the wheel for Fools Rush In on Friday, where we're also joined by another friend of Fools as we preview the weekend action. But Woody, Nick, Ben, fun as ever, gents. And thank you, of course, to Alice and Grace, who were on earlier and were exceptional guests as always. And we started with stuff from the FRI mailbag. I think it's only fair that we conclude with something from the FRI mailbag. The final tweet in from Paddy, at Fools Rush In, at Pyman, at Oakus Road, at Woody the Coach. Thank you for putting that PR question out there, and to you all for your brilliant opinions. Respect all round. The guys will see you Friday. I will be back on Monday, but always and forever, FRI is here, and our socials are open all week if you want to carry on the discussion. But for now, it's a very, very good night.
Good night.
Take my hand, take my whole life too, but I can't